Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll call the committee as a whole meeting to order. It's 5:15. It is a little early, but we did put out there that we would start as soon as the other meeting was over with. So at this time, I will turn this over to either Mr. Cole or Trey. I don't know which one is going to handle it. So thank y'all for coming.
Well, thank y'all for having us. Absolutely. It's been quite a bit of time since I've presented in this room. So this year marks our 10th anniversary as LSAP Coalition. And so we wanted to be able to come and talk to you guys a little bit about what we do. Feel that it's very important as we are representatives of county government in some degree, and we'll explain that here in a minute. But we're also members in the community in what the city and county are both looking for, and that is a drug-free community. And so in the work that we do, it takes a lot of different facets and a lot of different people and a lot of different community members helping in their own respective ways. And so we'll talk through a little bit of that. But again, I don't know about who all here remembers, but when we first started in 2016, before I came on in 2018, we were serving out of the county executive's office, and we had Ms. Jeannie Golden as our initial director. And then I was the second employee as the program coordinator, I think was the term at the time that was being used. And my room was, Christian, right in the little Harry Potter broom closet behind you that is the mail room, I think now, isn't it? Yeah, that was my office. And we started there, and I loved it because Nancy was in front of me, and we talked all the time. I don't know that we got much work done, but we talked all the time because we were both newspaper employees prior to our jobs here. So talk a little bit about the history of our organization and our day-to-day operations, okay? So, Christian, if I mess it up, you just wave at me and throw something, okay? So what is LSAP Coalition? LSAP stands for the Lawrence County Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition, and it comprises of community partners who come together for a singular purpose. They're working collaboratively to reduce substance use disorders in our community. Terminology, substance use disorder, is the popular medical term that we use. Less stigmatizing than the term that we have commonly referred to, which is addiction. And so when you hear that term, those are interchangeable. But what we're trying to move from is just a terminology that is not person first. People are not addicts, okay? They are people, but they may deal with an addiction or a substance use disorder. And so the terminology changes there to help us remember with compassion that people are people, and that's what we want them to be. Because if people are fully who they were created to be, and they're functioning in that capacity, we all function in a much better society. Our tax dollars aren't as burdened. Our community interests as it relates to law enforcement and things like that, first responder groups and all kinds of different things, shift when each person who is maybe suffering with a substance use disorder is fully whole and healthy. We focus on enhancing capacity, basically just being able to get our job done and being able to reach the goals in which we are looking for, and to implement those evidence-based strategies and foster positive social, environmental, and community policy changes. You guys know this more so than even I do, that we can do all the good deeds we want to do in our community, but it's those policy changes that come from the top down that really help to make the difference, okay? The grassroots movements are very, very important, and I believe we all believe that in Lawrence County. I don't think you can find another rural county that has more nonprofits per capita than probably Lawrence County does. And I say that because I don't know of another rural county that does. However, in this, that policy change really makes the lasting difference because it helps us to not only do that from an organic level, but more to a programmatic level on the government side. And so LSAP was founded in 2016. As you guys recall, we were reeling in our community as well as around the nation and state from the opioid epidemic that had followed the meth epidemic, that had followed probably the crack epidemic. And so you hear that continually is happening. 2016 is also a time frame of that early 2000s period where economics were really at a hard time. We were seeing a lot of different things shift in our community, in our state, and our nation. I tell people all the time, in Lawrence County, we do not base time off of Jesus Christ. And I don't mean that as any kind of sacrilegious thing, because I'm a minister of the gospel myself. But we base it off of one thing and one thing only, Murray, Ohio. Because you hear people talk, it's before Murray, Ohio, it's during Murray, Ohio, and it's after Murray, Ohio. Well, that happens in this time frame. And when your major job is manufacturing, and that is the driving force of your economy, and that begins to shift. And that wasn't just here. You go to Giles County, it was Gabriel. You go to several other towns around us, and they were dealing with very similar issues. All of this happening brings back that issue of a loss of hope. And oftentimes people turn to substances in that time frame to deal with their hopelessness. We also were dealing with the opioid epidemic at the time frame, and so you're dealing with overprescribing. And that wasn't just one of those things that affected certain types of population. Sometimes we have that mindset, but it was affecting Granny as well as it was cousin. You sat on the pew with both of them sometimes. It was that kind of factor that was affecting us. And so in 2016, much like many communities across our nation, we started to move to create what we call a coalition. And so Barry Doss was our representative at the time. T.R. Williams was our county executive at the time. Those two really, really felt burdened for this. They reached out to our community, began to work with other groups, many of them in this room, others who maybe have served in capacities much like you guys are serving in now. They came together, and you have a picture here of kind of our first board that was working at the time here in Lawrence County to create and sustain this coalition. We work under a memorandum of understanding with the county. They serve as our fiscal agent. Some of y'all may know that. Some of y'all may go, I know they take a building that we got, but I'm not really sure what they do and how that all works and everything like that. That memorandum of understanding was established between the county and our organization back in 2016, and it has been updated since 2020. And so that helps us to kind of take care of those grants that come in through state and federal funding. We'll talk about those in a minute. In 2020, while the world was going to hell in a handbasket, we were actually doing pretty good. And so in 2020, we gained 2 more employees that helped us to move from prevention to intervention. But we also moved into having our own 501c3 nonprofit status, which then helped us to be able to do a little bit of fundraising and a little bit of grants that were a little more manageable on our side. And then the bigger grants that came through state and federal government, we were able to continue in our fiscal agent side. And then LSAP's annual operating budget, just for some quick facts, is approximately $600,000. And again, this is sourced from grants and contributions, which are not always guaranteed. If you've not noticed, as of lately, a lot of things are shifting in our federal government and in our state government as far as how these dollars are understood and how they're maximized and used. And different people have different philosophies as to all of this. The reality of it is that as administrations change and as different things happen in our economics, grants and things go away, and this is why the portion of going into charitable contributions from community members is so huge, so we can continue to fund the efforts in which we are part of. Okay, to say all that to say, Christian, it always does this to me when it transitions into a slide from another thing. LSAP is a 501c3 nonprofit. It works off of community partners, volunteers, in-kind donations, monetary donations, grant funding. These are the emblems of our different departments that we are receiving grants from. Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services is our big one. That is the one that kind of got us kicked off and going back in 2016. We since then went to the one through the White House that is known as the DFC, or Drug Free Communities Grant. And that was a big item that is only lasting for about 12 years time frame. So we're almost toward the end of it. And so that helps us to be able to maximize the work that we do and to expand that. In 2020, we were able to also receive something from the TBI called the Tennessee Alliance for Drug and Endangered Children's Grant. That helps us to be able to move from prevention work, which is very stopping it before it ever happens, to intervention work. And we say all the time that this shift in this really changed what we were able to do as an organization. But it's a shift that we're seeing across these departments, statewide and nationwide, realizing that you can't have one without the other. It's much like a love and marriage situation. And also that year, we were able to receive the Hybrid Lifeline grant through the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. And those 2 numbers are on the bottom of the card that you received today. That is Nicole's number and Ginger's number. Those are individuals who are helping us intervene in the lives of families who are suffering through substance use disorder. Maybe it's a person who needs to get into treatment or recovery services. Ginger's one of those individuals who can help you with that. Maybe it's whole family stuff that's going on. Nicole, especially working with children and the family that's left behind in some of those things, to be able to have the resources they need and the therapies and things like that. LSAP staff and board. So we want to kind of show you who all we're working with on the daily. Our staff, I am the director. Assistant director here is Nicole Miller. The Hybrid Lifeline coordinator is at the back door, Ginger Wells Smith. Our office manager is Sarah Hamilton, and we are actually in the process of hiring for a prevention intervention coordinator for us to be able to continue to expand some of the services and programs that we offer. Our board currently is comprised of our chair, Dr. John Beasley, vice chair, Tiffany Cope, who is here with us today. Thank you, ma'am. Our treasurer, Devin Ezel, secretary, Lisa Ambrose, member Jeff Jacobs, he's a pastor in South End of the county, member Sally Darnell, and then member Jody Springer. And this board, if you saw in the picture at the beginning, it has shifted a little bit over time, and it's grown and expanded, and then it's kind of contracted down to a less amount of people on the board. You have different boards for different reasons at different times and seasons, but over these 10 years, it's always been very helpful to have a strong board who really supports us, endorses us, and then goes out in the community and helps us to make sure that this work is done and it's advocated for, not just here, but around the state as well. We can't get the work done alone, and so a staff is great, but the very definition of a coalition is a group of people who come together for a singular purpose. One of the things that you find quite often in the work we do is that if you do not have representatives from every different angle of our community, we're going to be missing somebody. We're going to be missing something. We're going to not be serving somebody like we should. And so one of the very big focuses that we have are called 12 sectors, and that's 12 different representatives from our community who can help us to understand the different impacts that substance use disorder has as we're trying to get this work out there and we're trying to partner. And so we have community partners from these different 12 sectors. And I think it's very important to see this because I think it helps us into a snapshot, especially in a few minutes when you see some pictures of different individuals, of the partnerships that it really takes to make this work happen. And sometimes we see this and we think of it in maybe ways that we're going, okay, I understand maybe the youth serving organization, or I might understand the substance abuse organization, but how does what I do play into the grander picture? And it's one of the things I talk about all the time to people is every single facet of our community has an ability to be a part of a drug-free community. It's a matter of how we maximize the opportunities we have in the things we do, from employers who are more recovery friendly. Ryan and I talk about it quite often with the chamber of the fact that what they do in helping to make sure jobs are happening creates hope and opportunity in our community. You guys, when you're passing policies in our community that is helping to leverage funds for the sake of things like ball that is happening at Rotary Park or something, that's huge because that's a part of a grander puzzle that is being formed together that creates a drug-free community. LSAP offers prevention education, stigma reduction, community connection, resource connection, drug-free alternatives, and advocacy. As you've heard already, we started off primarily just being able to go into schools and have community conversations about what this looked like. But over time, we've been able to help move into that community and resource connection. In fact, Philip, you and I were talking a little bit beforehand of a student that we've been able to co-work with in our organization who really needed a community. That was the factor. We find that so often in the programs that these two in particular are a part of, that most of what is happening for reasons that really are kind of innocent, and they're really something that all of us are a part of. Most students we talk to, when they say why they started ever using substances in the first place, we get a lot from Ashley's office into our different classes like MRT. And almost every time it comes back to two factors. One, really two, maybe three. One, I've got stress in my life, often family induced, and I've got to find a way to cope with it. And I have not been taught a healthy way to cope with it. Two, I just need to belong. And I use this example with parents every time I'm teaching and training them. How many of us have laughed at a joke that really wasn't funny, but we just didn't want to kind of mess the room up a little much? Or how many of us have overindulged in something because it was just a way to kind of escape in the moment? Every time we yell out, man, I just need a vacation, we're saying the same thing. Ours is just socially acceptable. Ours isn't as damaging. Maybe it is to our bank account, but it may not be to some of the other things in life. And yet a lot of our students, a lot of our families, a lot of our individuals are dealing with things in ways that are very unhealthy. But if we can get to the root causes of this, and if we can help them connect to the resources that they need and to the community around them. And guys, I'm so thankful for Lawrence County. I'm so thankful for the community we're in because there's so many individuals who are willing to step up and reach out and just, anytime, Nicole especially, Nicole's better at this than I am especially, but to reach out the phone and go, hey, I got a kid, just needs a little bit of extra love and attention. Can you help me out? And oftentimes if Nicole calls and asks, you're gonna end up in something that you're going, that's not what I think I signed up for, but okay. That is so important because our students need that more so than ever. And I think back to my granddaddy, who was the chief of police years ago over in another county. And at his funeral, there were a lot of individuals who came through and just their statement constantly was, you don't know how much it impacted me that he coached my ball team when I was a kid and would drive me back and forth to practice because my mom and daddy couldn't. There were several individuals who had passed through his jailhouse and said, you don't know what kind of impact that made in my life for him to treat me like a human being instead of like just another person in my jail. That makes a big difference, and that is a large part of what we do, is just give those opportunities for our community and the individuals who are hurting to connect, okay? So LSAT projects, I got this number wrong, it's 2022, but from 2022 to 2024, one of the projects that we launched was Grace House. Nicole is here. She is serving now as Grace House's de facto director. Is that what you're going to be called? I don't know. A little bit of everything?
Yeah.
The Grace House was a project that came out of a passion that she saw in the families that she was serving through the Drug and Danger Children's Coordinator position. And it had to do with the fact that we had a lot of individuals who were sleeping on DCS's floor because of just the scenarios that they were in for it. And I remember Nicole coming to me and going, hey, there's an issue here. I think we can do something about this. We've got some space. Can we maximize this? We ran this through boards. We talked to a lot of different people and going, is this a possibility? Can we do this? Is this something that can happen? And over time, we created what became Grace House, that now it's its own 501c3 nonprofit. It is in our building, and it serves in there, but it is one of those things that it helps to be able to be kind of a safe place for students who are transitioning into foster care services. Tennessee Camp Thrive is a project that came out of that debt coordinator's job as well. It was something that we were one of only, how many counties?
One of 6.
One of 6 counties that even had the debt coordinator's position, but then launched Tennessee Camp Thrive. And it was a project that TBI wanted to try and to see if there was a way to do something where we could get students who were considered drug endangered or in some sort of way of needing extra assistance and services. And we could put them in a positive impact environment one time a month. And then also, hey, let's try to connect their families together. Let's get them together around the table to eat dinner. Let's get them around the table to do those things. A lot of the reason why it became what it became, because people like Nicole who sit down and talk to our heads at TBI and go, I know what you think a camp's going to look like, but this is the reality of what we've got to do. And it has thrived, no pun intended, it has really thrived because it's one of those areas where we have seen great impact. Nicole, I didn't preemptively do this beforehand. I didn't tell you anything, so I'm preemptively doing this, right? Will you tell the story of the grandfather who was with his grandkids and had never eaten on a food truck with us before?
So the first Camp Thrive night that we had, like Trey said, we didn't know what it was going to look like. We got told it was supposed to be a certain way, and I had this huge vision of that it was going to be an outdoor movie night and a food truck night, and then we'd even brought in the strong man who bends metal, everything. Like I wanted. Yeah, there you go, Christian. Yeah.
I figured you were just going to have a power team from back in the day.
Oh,
Yeah. So, and he drove 2 hours, and that's what Camp Thrive's about. Is partnering with as many community connectors
Yep.
and resources and agencies and churches. We move it around every month because we want these families to see everybody. My goal and hope for that is that if we move it in different places, it's opportunities for these families to see life outside of the only thing that they've ever known. And one of the things that Trey is talking about is that I had everything that we do is free. Everything. My services, Ginger's services, everything. Grace House, whether a child stays the night at Grace House, we have a Grace House closet that aids children and families. Like, it's just endless. And not only that, I'll go on that note too. Grace House, the closet aids over 8 counties, and it's because of Lawrence County supporting
Yep.
us and doing so
Yep.
well that children and families' needs are met with no questions asked, and it's a blessing. But Camp Thrive, we had advertised that everything was free. Come fellowship with us, have fun, And I had a dad that walked up to me, and he had big old tears in his eyes. And I don't know if you've ever been faced with a grown man with big tears in his eyes from nothing. That I asked him, I was like, "What is wrong?" And he said, "I have no money. Are we sure that this food truck is for free?" And I said, "Everything that you come to the table and do with LSAP, I want you to come with an easy mind and just come and enjoy your family. Because you're talking about children and families who are in the hustle of literally paycheck to paycheck, and sometimes it's behind a paycheck. And if we can take some of that financial burden off and give some grace, it changes the trajectory for the future." And so one of the other families that I think about with Camp Thrive, because we have this opportunity and because you guys have supported it, is we have a great grandfather who is raising 2 little girls because he couldn't stand the fact of watching them go back into the system. That our Grace House Closet has supported every year at Christmas, and Camp Thrive obviously does the back to
He's
school
very
day.
faithful,
He's
hardworking.
very faithful, yes. And they're older now, because you gotta keep in mind, we did Camp Thrive 3-4 years ago. Is it 3?
Yeah.
I don't know, time flies when you're having fun, right? And so, they're in high school. And so my thing is they're gonna come back and be some youth mentors because they're so invested. And the fact of that is if we can give them some positive to be a part of, I mean, you think that cuts back on them possibly even being in the realm of what their mother was, of doing drugs, teen pregnancy. I mean, the sky's the limit. So
Positivity Project was something that came out of 2020 as well, when we were seeing mental health issues across our nation with students who had faced something that none of us ever had. As far as anything that we were doing, we had never faced before in our time frame. But students having to learn and to be isolated in a lot of cases. And so coming out of that, there were a lot of issues with mental health. We're still dealing with it, I think, in our school systems and stuff. And our school system has made some very forward-thinking steps in some ways that I don't think other communities have. And when we talk about the things that our school system has done with the school-based therapists and things like that, other counties are very, very shocked as to how forward-thinking Lawrence County has been in that way. Positivity Project, we saw that, and that was something that, again, Nicole had kind of helped spearhead there to go, hey, what if we just were able to give a message handwritten by the community that said something about you matter. You matter. Your life matters. The things that you are created to be, it matters. And on the back of that, make sure that they have the suicide hotline number just in case they were to need it. You don't know how many students come back to us. I mean, one year we were going, okay, we've done this 4 or 5 years. Maybe we should probably stop this. And I'm much more of the one who goes, we should probably quit and do something else. I'm the chicken little guy, and I'm the sky's falling kind of person. Nicole's the optimist. And then Ginger's the fun in the middle. And so we were kind of contemplating that. And she had a conversation with some different people, and they were going, absolutely not. Our students love it. They look forward to it, especially the high school students that are getting to go into the schools and hand those out to students. Man, they beg for that opportunity. Backyard barbecues, another opportunity for us to just make parts of our community come together. A lot of our schools were coming to us and going, hey, we can't get parents to show up to certain things. We don't know how to do this. What are we going to do? And Nicole, again, helped us with spearheading a project where we were able to connect with those schools and create just a fun environment for them to hang out with, get the resources they need, much like what you guys got today, but also be able to come to their school and be a part of a family and see those things. And we've had several in the opportunities we've had at those to come back to us and go, we've never had anything like that at our school before. Can we do this all the time? And so that is always an awesome opportunity for families to connect to their kids' school, because when I was a kid, my parents were the ones who were showing up to the parent-teacher conferences, the teachers going, I really don't need you to be here. I don't know why you're here. That's not every kid. That's actually not the majority of our kids. And so for us to be able to do something to help them get there, get the resources they need, and also be in their kids' lives is so important. The collaboration is a class that we offer. We do this through the juvenile justice system. And so we work with Judge Ashley Duncan on so many things. And guys, I cannot speak highly enough of how good a juvenile magistrate we have in this county. She is far superior to any other juvenile magistrate I've ever met in my life because she cares. And she drives everything she does by her heart and her passion. And so she comes to us and goes, hey, kids are vaping. This ain't cutting it. I don't know what we're going to do. We got to figure something out. and I need y'all to just figure something out. And that's often what Ashley does. Hey, I got a problem. You guys, I trust. Come on, help me figure out something. And so we're like, okay. So back when Jenny Golden was still our director, we worked with some different organizations to find some curriculums and started doing some stuff. And we kept coming back to the table going, we really don't think this is working. We don't like this. We got to figure this out. And then the transition of things, we ended up transitioning from me teaching that class to Nicole taking that class on. And one of the things that came back and that was going, we've got to get some other resources around the table, even for the class or students, because what they're dealing with, this curriculum ain't cutting it. And I don't know if you've ever tried to teach student curriculum with anything that the government sends out from the federal side of things, but it's usually horrible, and it's usually not going to work with the students that we're dealing with. So we revamped the class, and we've revamped it several times since then to just bring the community partners around the table that we thought could be possible. We brought people in who were in long-term recovery who were willing to share their story with students. We brought people in who had expertise in a field of things like suicide prevention, anger management, all kinds of different factors there. I go in and talk to parents quite often about just the science of addiction and how it works in the brain. And it just lights up this idea of what is actually possible and the reality of what we're dealing with. But the bigger piece to this is those students are connected back to a community who cares. And so they're always reaching out for resources and things. And Nicole and I have talked about several students over the last year, we've talked several times about this class in particular, because we've had several students who came to us because they were forced to. And then they started coming back to us because they wanted to. They came to us originally because they were in trouble, and they come back to us because they see the positive impact in their life. We've had young people who have come in and they had nothing and able to connect them to clothing possibilities there. We've had young people who come in and they're some of the worst on paper, but when they leave us, they're some of the best productive kids you've ever seen in your life. They just needed someone to listen to them, take a little time with them, create a little structure with them, say some hard truths to them, but also walk with them through the issues that they're dealing with. You got any stories from that you'd like to share?
I do. I want to give one example on that. It just shows that I had one kid that came in and he was so angry, and like Trey said, he was so bad on paper. Everybody was like, he's going to be a doozy. Just do your best to get him out of the class. He needs to say that he did it, all this stuff, everything. Well, the thing that I love about Magistrate Duncan is she's about let's get to the why. Like why, and get to the core of it. Because if you can't get to the why and you can't get to the core, we can't properly help, which is everything that I love about LSAP and Grace House. So I sat him down and I was talking to him, and I was like, you're about to be 18. Like, where do we go from here? Like, your attitude's not going to cut it. But if you can tell me why we're here, like, let's talk about it. Well, when you peel the layers back, come to find out he had an IEP at his school. He had a learning disability. And all he had ever been told was that he was never going to be able to go to college. And so he said, Miss Nikki, why should I care? Why should I care? And I fight because I'm being made fun of all the time. And I'm being made fun of all the time because of my learning disability. And the way that I numb that is because I just go get high all the time. And I said, who told you that you can't do anything with that IEP? And he was like, well, I've had some people, like adults, and we're not gonna go that far, but I said, you can do anything you want to with an IEP. That's why an IEP is created to wrap around you so that way you can be a successful adult with your learning disability. So, he apparently had tried to take the ACT without anybody knowing it, even in his family. His own mom didn't know because she told him he was gonna be worth a check, okay? And so he took the ACT. I had no idea you could make a 13 on the ACT, did y'all? I had no idea, but you can. And so that just ran it on home even more so. So my daughter, we had just paid for a tutor for my daughter for her ACT. And she took everything that she had from Columbia State. And we paid good money for that tutor. And I thought, we're going to get 2 for 1 here. And she tutored him every day for, 2.5 months?
It was a long time.
2.5 months, 3 months, and he was faithful. Sometimes he would ride his skateboard to LSAP Coalition to be tutored. And so he took it. We kind of didn't hear anything from him because it was really close to everything. I hooked him up with Columbia State. He went and talked. Life got busy, and he called one morning, and I'm not a morning person. And so he called one morning. He's like, are you up, Miss Nikki? And I said, no, I'm not. And he said, guess where I'm going? And I said, I don't know. Please tell me, like, not jail or anything. I said, and he said, no. And, like, it chokes me up every time because he said, I'm walking into college today. It's my first day. And if we never would have met him And we never would have had the opportunity thanks to Magistrate Duncan and what we do. That kid never would have got an opportunity to even believe in himself. So,
Comment on that real quick. We hear that, I hear that more, not just from children in this program, but other children as well in the school system, that they are not worthy enough of going in, and they don't want to go down that road like you just said either.
right.
But they're not getting that assistance, they're not getting that encouragement. I think we need to do more of that.
We do. We do. I feel like too, because we are such a proactive community across the state. Trey, like go back to that one that had like everything of the tidbits that we do. No,
Yeah.
another one. Every single one of those programs, and now including our MRT, every single one of those programs across the state of Tennessee is being mirrored in another county because it's so proactive. And those are things that we talk about is that all those programs work because of mentorship. And we live in a community and a county that mentorship is also AKA discipleship, if you think about it.
Can you expand those programs to other students that are not?
That's our hope and our goal. And especially, oh yeah, we've got lots of goals
Great.
and lots of hopes.
All we need is the people and the resources, honestly.
That's right, like, listen,
Sky's
because
the
we
limit.
understand, because here's the thing about a coalition. We are only one person. Nicole's one person, Ginger's one person, Trey's one person. This work gets done because of community and everybody rallying together and seeing those problems. And so when we can expand on that and move and launch, I mean, the sky's the limit. And that's the way you break generational cycles of substance abuse and mental health. I mean,
And I will
you
say
put
that's
in
another
those
thing,
things in place.
from the
Yeah.
school system perspective, having people like Michael Atkins who see that,
And he sees that,
and
yes.
having people in positions like Jenny, who was our original director, to be the coordinated school health, being able to work with individuals who see that and want to expand those programs because they realize those things are needed.
Because they're not just classes for classes. Like that collaboration right there, it's 6 weeks and every week hits a topic. But then also it's partnered with a school check-in. So it partners with the school system, it partners with the SROs, and you get those one-on-ones. And those are perfect times too to where we get to the core and the why of it. And I'm so grateful that the school system, the courts, LSAP, and then the 7 other partners that we bring to the table, Kids Place being one of them, I mean, it's just completely a village for these kids.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate that, because I'm a big advocate for making students, getting students to be able to learn a whole lot more than what they think they can.
I think the best bet on that too, what I would love to see happen one day for us is futuristically, Ginger and Trey and I have lots of goals, is I would love to have like a social worker that helps aid other social workers, but then also too, a mental health therapist or a counselor, because so many of our kids, the mental health therapists at the school are wonderful, but they've already got waiting lists of 45 students apiece. And so if we can provide to help fill that missing gap, I mean, that's how you also target
Expand
that.
resources.
Yeah.
Thank you, I didn't mean to get you.
No,
No, you're good.
I
You're
appreciate
good. That's what we want. I'm going to give y'all some data real quick. In 2025, we had 244 citizens connected to treatment and recovery services by our Region 5 South Hybrid Lifeline program. And we had 4,790 families served by LSAP's Drug Endangered Children's program. 35,600 prevention education materials, resources, connection materials, and RX lock boxes distributed to LawCo citizens. This is a huge way for us to be able to hand out something to people so that we can have a conversation with people. The materials you get are great. I realize most people throw these things away as soon as they walk away from you. But if I can have a conversation with you for about 5 seconds that might connect that resource, or if I can have somebody just kind of get enlightened about the resources that are available, you never know. And then 3,200 interactions with LawCo or Region 5 South citizens regarding prevention or resource connection efforts, and then 63 events hosted or participated in by staff and volunteers. Why do these numbers matter? Because they're each somebody who is getting connected to the resource they need to make their lives move in a forward, positive direction. The more we can do of this work, the better off we are, because we're continuing to make not only our individuals whole, but our community whole as well. Here's we're just gonna let you look at it real quick. You might see some familiar faces. Always like when Ginger's selfies are very famous, and so you'll see her with quite a bit of people. This one's Judge Harris, caught off by guard.
Governor, president.
He's in there somewhere.
So,
Let y'all see kind of what we're talking about numbers, but what it looks like with people. Here's her and Billy. Now, Christian, we're getting to the part where I'm going to need your help to remind me as to what I'm supposed to do. Touch this? No. Okay.
Tell me what it is.
So before we show this video, this is one of the Camp Thrive projects that we're doing. And so in Tennessee Camp Thrive with the projects, we have different things that happen every month, as we said. During our July timeframe, we do a back to school resource day every year. This is a connection for all of these students, and then students beyond that. We served, I don't know how many this last year.
It was 80 the day of, and then because of everything that we had, we were able as a whole to serve 200.
But we try our best to put these students and their shoppers back into our community. And so we have partnerships with people like the Outlook and Walmart. We have partnerships with Striker Steakhouse and different groups to where we're putting back into our local economy as well.
Well, and the rest of it too, I'm going to add real quick,
Okay.
we had over 80 partners that came to the table
Yep.
to make that happen. Just
And you'll see familiar faces in that too. Go ahead.
It's a mama singing songs about the Lord. It's a daddy spending family time the world says he cannot afford. These simple moments change the world. It's a pastor at a tiny little church. 40 years of loving on the broken and the hurt. These simple moments change the world. Dream small, don't buy a lot, you've gotta do it all. Just let Jesus use you where you are. One day at a time, live well. Loving God and others as yourself. Find little ways where only you can help. With His great love, a tide that can make a giant fall. Dream small. It's visiting the widow down the street, or dancing or flirting with your friend with special needs. These simple moments change the world. Of course, there's nothing wrong with bigger dreams. Just don't miss the minutes on your way to bigger things. No, 'cause these simple moments change the world. So dream small, don't buy a lot, you've gotta do it all. Just let Jesus use you where you are. One day at a time, live well. Loving God and others as yourself. Find little ways where only you can help. With His great love, a tiny rock can make a giant fall. So dream small.
So all the products you saw in there were donated by community groups, churches, individuals around our community who are wanting to help students out to be able to have the things they need to thrive in school. The clothing, shopping, and that sort of thing. Again, Walmart and Outlook were two locations that help us out quite a bit with that. Again, to Nicole's point earlier, and the thing I think we've been reverberating throughout this whole entire presentation is it takes the community to make this type of thing happen. But when you're doing that, what is that paying to the trajectory of not only that child's life, but our community's life as a whole? So,
Can I ask one question?
yes, sir.
Just again, who are these kids? How did they get there?
Okay, so those kids are picked out from the housing authority, counselors at schools, SROs, DCS, churches. Anybody and everybody is open to it, but they're handpicked. And the majority of it is children who are either being raised in single family households, being raised by grandparents, adoptive parents, next to kinship placements. We made that a huge stipulation for us in our camp specifically. Ginger and I are next to kinship placements, and we're totally different than a foster family. Foster families get stipends, but the great-great-grandpa that I was telling you about gets nothing. Next to kinship placements they're technically in the system, but then there's not a lot of aid or assistance. Ginger and I are lucky that we can take that on financially but not everybody can. So that's one of the reasons why we handpick specifically those type of families for sure. But then there's some families that are, mom and daddy are still together, but they're barely making ends meet. Nobody's ever identified as like, oh, that's a drug endangered children's coordinator. That's why we don't put the TBI emblem on it, nothing. It's just families that people in our community have identified as could use some extra grace and love in a village. One of the things that I tell everybody, and I just told it today at the Women's Worth panel interview that I was sitting on, is that even if the Camp Thrive funding went away, and it pretty much did, and everybody kept it afloat, we will always do, for instance, a Thanksgiving dinner, because when we got ready to go and we got ready to leave, I had this family come up to me and they're like, Miss Nikki, this was so much fun, because we let them invite their whole family. I mean, if you want to bring your aunt and uncle, you just tell me and we'll RSVP it. And so he came up and he said something, and I said, well, I don't know what we're going to do next year. It might just be like a kid thing, because if we meet one month and it's just the kids, the next month we'll do like a family thing. And he kind of like had this look on his face. And I said, what is it? And he said, I really hope you do this again. And I said, why? And he said, because this is the only time I've ever had a Thanksgiving meal as a family that my family could go be a part of in probably 15 years. So that was a huge eye-opener of Camp Thrive has created the village and family for people who don't have that.
And I'll give one step further in this, not only to be able to have those students and their families have this, but one thing that we did this year that was a little different was we want to teach those students that not everything's just about you either.
Yeah.
It's about you giving back. And so if we can take that on, but then also return that to our community, how big does that make their view of community so much more as they go forward? So this year, in this particular camp with the Thanksgiving meal, we met a couple of times extra that time, and we had them write handwritten invitations to somebody who is making a positive impact in their life. And most of them didn't just have one; they had 3 or 4 that they wanted to invite, and it was mostly not family members. It was teachers, it was coaches, it was counselors, it was different ministers and people in their community who had made a difference in their life, and those people showed up. We had so much.
All of them did.
I was going to say, we didn't have one that didn't. We had so much, not enough chairs and stuff for the amount of people we had, to the point that we were having to find other chairs in this facility we were using to get there. And how excited those students were, and how interactive those individuals were. And then we played games with them and stuff like that. But it was so impactful to watch them be able to not only, hey, am I taking, but I'm able to give back. And so that was huge for us as well. So something coming up Tuesday night, we have our 10-year anniversary celebration town hall. It's 6 p.m. at the Vaughn venue. We'll have different people who have been a part of what we do over the years talk a little bit about where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. It won't be a repeat of what we're talking about today. There might be a little bit of repeat, but not too much, because it's the perspective of not us, but the perspective of people who have worked with us to make this goal and dream happen. And so this is open to the community. We'd love for you to be there. There'll be food and refreshments there. But this is an opportunity for us to celebrate our community and thank them for the ways that they have been a part of what we do, so that we can continue to see this work happen. Another fun thing we try to do is drug-free events for the family to come together. And so we're venturing into our first real fundraiser, I guess you'd say, for the first time in forever. And we're pairing up with Etheridge Motorsports. They reached out to us and they're like, hey, can we work with you guys and do something? They're really good friends with Nicole and her family. And we said, yeah, we'd love to. I like anything with fast cars and concession stands, so it sounds good to me. And so we're partnering with them to do what we're calling High Octane Hope. And it's Saturday, April 25th. Gates will open at 10 a.m. Races begin at 1 p.m. And here's a little bit more information. It's an opportunity for you to just bring out your family and just hang out and have fun and know that your money is going to a good cause, good, clean entertainment, and just a way for people to have fun and enjoy the community together. Because we were going, we don't want to do those boring, stiff fundraiser type things. That's not us. We want to do something that we feel like the family can come together and enjoy a time with their community. And so again, this is what we offer, who we are. Here's some ways to connect with us as far as following our information and things like that. If we're not sending you things out through email, it's probably because we don't have your email. So reaching out to myself or Nicole or Ginger and getting that information to us. You can follow us probably best on Facebook, and you'll see our updates constantly with pictures and the things we're doing and things that are coming up as well. So I see a few people taking pictures, so I'll Let that pause for just a second. Okay. And then lastly, again, this is where we're located, our phone number, and again, some more contact information if you need that. Okay. Open it up for any questions or any comments or thoughts anybody's got.
Any questions?
So if I might, so
Go
the
ahead,
last thing you said is so powerful. These people live their lives of knowing every day that they only survive because someone gives them something. And they fail to see what the kid who went to college saw is that they have real value when they can give and they can help and they can serve someone else.
Mhm.
That's the power.
And we're big about that. We're big about not only are you going to receive, but how do you give back to your community. We know that when you talk to anybody who's in long-term recovery and you hear anything, one of the main statements that I think is so powerful is the opposite of addiction is not recovery. It's community, it's connection. It's that connection piece that really makes the difference. And so many of our people who live in long-term recovery will tell you if it was not for the connection to community, they don't know where they'd be. And so it's so impactful to be able to connect a person to their community and not only receive that community, but also give that community.
Well, and to piggyback off of that, are any of you familiar with the acronym ACEs? ACEs are adverse childhood experiences. So that's the negative. I mean, childhood trauma, all of that leads up into adulthood and a ton of what Ginger works in. And so it's the negative, obviously. But now they're finding and statistically showing, and we can pull up a slide to show you the numbers of it and everything.
Honestly, it should be common sense.
It should be common sense, but you just sometimes
Common
you
sense
just don't
ain't
know.
so common.
But even though ACEs are there, a thing called PACEs is too, and it's your positive adverse childhood experiences. And one of the reasons we did the Positivity Project was because we went off of the whole thing of a stat that we had saw one day of one positive adult role model in a child's life cuts out teen suicide by 30%. So you think if a child has 2, that's 60%. If a child has 3, that's 90%. Because that positive adult doesn't have to come from inside the home. We work with kids every day that doesn't happen. My Grace House is because there are children who come in and their generational cycles of not knowing how to dig myself up out of this hole. Trey heard me talking to the kid that literally walked out of our doors 2 hours before we came here and was going to a PAC bed to be evaluated because her mental health was not good. So that way we could get back on track and we could be the best successful us. And one of the things I told her, I was like, just because life has been the way it has been, you've been here, you've calmed down, you've got your head on your shoulders, and that's the blessing of Grace House, is to be able to decompress. But I was like, now it's up to you to decide how you want your life. Now it's up to you to dig deep, remember your faith, and find what makes you the best you, because you deserve to have a life. Nobody was put here on this good green earth to not have a purpose. It's just not, that's just not logical. And so, yes, to what you're talking, I love the fact that I work for an organization and a company and with coworkers that can sit there and remind people that they have worth and they have purpose. Because that, you're talking about dealing with people and children who have lost hope, have nothing.
Trey,
Yes, sir.
knew it all this, 6 months ago, met with these two, got invited to a meeting here, and, turned around, had no clue what I was walking into, okay? Had no clue what they did every day, no clue about the Grace House, no clue about any of this. Turned around and, really began to understand this, and everybody in this room does not live in the world they live in every day, okay? It's a different thing. We go home to our homes, we go home to everything else and what they're dealing with there. And the people, the lives they're changing are the people that we're gonna deal with in your jail. We don't get these kids and these people now. We're gonna be dealing with them right here. Think of the millions and millions and millions of dollars this county spends on law enforcement behind the city of Lawrenceburg spends everything else. Don't know all the answers, don't know anything about it. They're really good stuff. Really, really, really good stuff. And again, when you sit and listen and you see the people they're touching, and it's amazing to see what they're doing. And as a group in this room, there's things that we can do working together to solve this and help these people do what they're doing. And, you know, again, the city has never been that much involved in this. We are now. We're helping, we're asking what we can do to help guide and to make a difference in this. And we're really good. City County has always been partners on things. We actually, I say it too many times, Morgan gets hired from there, but we work together so well on projects, and we're the envy of so many communities. Heck, they come over here and want to know how we're doing things and why we're doing the way we're doing. It's because of this come together kind of deal. I can't think of anything better than to come together with this organization right here. 100% of what we need to do that, because all we're doing is reinvesting in our own community. We're making the things in our youth, in our people. And again, we pay for it now, or we figure out how to fix it now, or you try to do it over here. And anybody that's ever walked through that, they know that's a hopeless place when you walk through there versus having a child, 11, 12, 13 years old, 16-year-old that we can touch. So again, don't know what the full purpose with all this meeting was. I think it was informational. But again, I learn more about this group and everything every day, and I have people come up on the streets and talking about what they run into and what they do. We do have the great thing too about having our school system. Most communities are cut out of their school system. We have a super interactive superintendent that gets it. Ask Atkins to tell you his story, where he came from. And that's about as inspirational story as there is. So anyway.
Your question of why, for two reasons. One, full transparency. We feel like if we're going to sit in your building, we ought to tell you what we're doing, right? And so we want to make sure that you guys know. One of the other reasons is we continually hear all the time, and it shocks me, and I don't know how this happens, but you have an organization or something, and you've been there for a long time, and you've got people who come to you and go, I ain't got a clue what you do. I see your yard sign, I see this, but I don't have a clue. And so we wanted to be able to do that because, I don't know about y'all, but I serve in a Baptist church, and so when I talk about things and I go out and do things, it's one thing for me to do it, but it's another thing for me to inform a deacon about it so that he can have that conversation with somebody that stands beside him and goes, hey, what are they doing over there? And so I feel the same way with you guys, is that the more information we can give y'all so that you're empowered when people are asking you questions, then you don't feel like it's kind of, hey, we don't really know what's happening. But no, we always want to be an open door and in complete transparency to where you guys are able to go out. And if you get stuck in these situations, because you're dealing with constituents every day, you're dealing with people in your community who are calling you for, hey, I don't know why this is the way it is. And some of it's stuff that you enjoy talking about, and some of it's stuff you're going, man, I really wish that my 4 years was up. And so that kind of thing happens, and oftentimes it's coming back to a center of hurt. And so if we can give you another resource to just say, hey, I don't know the answer to this, but I know people who do, I can at least give you a resource. That's what we're here for. And so that's, to us, that's why we would love any time that we can help you guys out. To know a little more about what we do, so we can be that extra resource for you when you're dealing with community members who may need a little extra help. Any other questions?
I have kind of a statement. So we're kind of enabling the children that don't have the mentors that we had to have mentors. I had some very good ones. I was very lucky in life with my parents and the life that I was at church and people that surrounded me, because it really took a village to get me from being a stupid teenager. It probably happened somewhere in my 20s actually, but I think that's the thing that tickles my heartstrings on this is not necessarily just the money of it. It's the hands, the boots on the ground, the people that do it. And once you show up to a couple of these, it totally changes you. I've been to three things that y'all put on, and watching the people come through, whether it's a resource retreat or just a thing at the church where they're talking to these kids that need somebody to help them. It's amazing to watch.
I've been very grateful for our local government, because there's so many individuals in our local government that are not even represented in this room that fill our offices every day that volunteer their time outside of the office to come in and do these things. I'll tell you probably one of my favorites is when Tara Dickey shows up, because she is one of the best to come in and go, hey, how can I help? What can I do? And never once do it. Absolutely.
She shops with
Her
us
and Kelsey are
every
both.
year. Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah.
But we have several that just all the time, how can I help? What can I be a part of? What can I do? And they do that all the time because they want to give back. And so I think that helps us because I believe it fully. If you're going to lead, you've got to lead in doing. And if you lead in doing, the people will follow. And I think if we want to see positivity in the lives of our constituents and in the lives of the families and the neighbors that we have, it's through the leadership and what we do. And so I'm grateful to live in a community where our leadership is doing that in a variety of ways. No, it's not at every event we have or every event Kids Place has or whoever, but it's in their own unique ways. And I think the world of our leadership in this community because it really does, they put their money where their mouth is, so to speak.
Anything else? All right.
Thank y'all.
Good job.
Thank y'all for all you're doing,
Thank you.
for sure.
Thank y'all. Before we adjourn, we haven't adjourned yet, so, thank y'all for what you do. Thank y'all for coming. Don't wait so long to come back.
Okay.
Okay.
Anytime.
If you need a meeting as chair, you call me and I'll set up the meeting.
Anytime.
Thank you to Mayor Lay and Councilman Washington for coming and Mr. McKinley, appreciate y'all coming. And thank you for speaking up, Mr. Lay. That's good stuff. And everybody else that spoke, I'm very, very thankful for you. Actions do speak louder than words, so just keep it up. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned.